So mitigation and the mitigation technologies for the wineries. And by the way, I've also got Megan Maher. I don't know, you should know her. She was a master's student here just a year or so ago. She works with where we work together at Treasury Wine Estate. She is the technical winemaker. And so this is her presentation as well. So let's go through this. So we're all here because this is close to home to us, right? I mean, it's been close to our vineyards, it's been close to our homes, and I had to put the picture up there. There's the 2017, and I'm so glad, Mike, you talked about it, but there's the 2017. That's my house, and it's really close to home. That was upon evacuation. But nonetheless, we're here actually to talk about smoke exposed fruit. Actually, you've got smoke exposed fruit. It's going to lead to smoke taint because you would have done your bucket ferment. Now what? Now what do you do? So what are the strategies? We're going to look at some strategies for juice. Then we're going to look at wine, wine additions, wine process technologies, traditional treatments, and then some future work. And you've heard some of these. I'm just going to go a little deeper into them. And there's probably one you haven't heard yet. So the real trick here is, as we've heard all day long, which pool of compounds are we trying to mitigate? The first would be the free. And I did look, I've even got biophenols up there. There you go. So again, which pool do you want? You want the volatile ones? And you want to go after the free? You want to go after the balance? And then you've got single glucose, and you've got the two glucose. So your glycosylated. So you're going to go after those in these strategies. Or you're going to go after both. Because that's ultimately, I think, what we want to do. Let's get rid of that pool that's going to cause us some problems later, not just the free. And then what do you want to do? Do you want to remove it and reduce it? Yeah. But if it's low enough in this smoke taint, maybe you can just mask it. We talked a little bit about that. And I'm going to show you some of the ideas around that. Okay. Juice strategies. And this isn't new work. I hope you've seen some of this before. Obviously, if you haven't seen it before, your first vintage that you have smoke taint, you will start to do them. In 2008, with Dr. Tom Collins at Treasury, yeah, we scrambled around for techniques because there were none. And if there were, they were brand new. Some of the work out of Australia. And by the way, I will tell you, and Tom will tell you as well, 2008, yeah, we had the poster child for smoke taint at the winery I was working for. And yes, it was Petit Verdot. That came up. I heard that a couple times. I'm like, yeah, spark went up. Yeah, we even treated that wine twice, and it still came back. But Petit Verdot definitely was our poster child. But for juice, so what do you want to do with the juice? You bring the juice in. Ideally, you want to remove it from its source. So remove it from its skins probably as quick as you can. That's why white wines tend to fare a little bit better because you're going to press them off their skins. The red wine, well, don't know what to say unless you're going to make rosé because you still have to get some contact with the skins and the seeds to actually make a decent red wine. So, but if you can remove the juice from its source, keep the cool fruit. I think we would know this is the more heat you put at it, the faster the extraction you're going to get of these compounds into the juice. This was some work, and you can see it was probably some molecules there. The press fractions. There's your pulp. You know, the idea is that there's probably more of those compounds in those press fractions. So keep those separate maybe from your free run. Finding agents, and we're going to talk more about finding agents as we actually go into wine, but I'm pretty sure by now, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure every finding agent that's legal to add to wine, and a few that are not, have been used to try to remediate smoke taint wine or smoke taint juice. I'll go through a couple in wine that have got some data on, but I'm pretty sure every finding agent's been used. And then I will, by the way, go through here, and I'll put what I think is going to be success. I will put something up there and show you what I think success looks like, or what these are going to do for you in the way of success. And then that's reduce and remove. But what about masking? And the thought here is, and we're going to talk about yeast selection first, or a couple times, sorry, but this yeast selection is more about selecting one that raises those aromatics. Try to raise those aromatics, try to hide that smoke. That's one philosophy. And then, of course, the addition of oak. These compounds have similarities to oak. We like oak. Can we go along and mask some of these smoke taint compounds, especially if it's low? I mean, obviously, it's the wine that Tom showed earlier today. Yeah, good luck. We'll probably have to do some other treatments before we can get it low enough to where you probably mask that with oak. Julie's over there smiling. I will tell you, that's the second time up there. We evacuated from our, I said it might have been the third time we evacuated from our house in 2020, because that was the next big event. Even though it was in Napa, as you can see, that is an amazing picture. Whoever took that picture was too close. It's an amazing picture, but it also came over into Sonoma County, so we evacuated again. But before I move on to wine, all of these things, and I've used a lot of these techniques. I'm going to tell you, you're going to have moderate success, especially if you've got higher levels of smoke taint. You're not going to completely eliminate it. This isn't your silver bullet. So you're going to have moderate success. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to go through this whole talk, and I hate to give you the punchline right now, but we're going to see moderate success in a lot of these treatments. We're getting better, but still a lot of moderate success. Okay, this one was good. This one was a hot. I mean, I know what the result is on this one, but this was a hot topic back last decade on flash to time. And hopefully you know a little bit about flash to time. If you don't, what it is we heat the must up to about 185 Fahrenheit. So I get it pretty warm. You pump that into a vacuum chamber. As soon as you hit that vacuum chamber, the way it's been told to me, you basically explode the skin apart. And everything comes out. I mean, you get some great color, at least initially, until the alcohol sets in, but you can get amazing color extraction. And the skins, actually, if you've ever seen it, you've ever pressed it, first of all, they will clog up your skins on your screens, but they're also gray because you've actually extracted just about all this color out of them. So rapid extraction of color, it has alternate fermentation strategies. So now you've got all the color out, you actually need to ferment it as a red. You maybe could ferment it more like a white. And I realized the seeds actually add some body and tannin later on. So there's some strategies, but this was an alternate strategy. So this was before smoke taint. But then the thought was, can we use this for smoke taint? And the reason why, and Elizabeth did a really good job, I wish she was here. She talked about this idea that, especially pyrazines in water. Wow, put pyrazines in water, those babies jump right out. Put a little bit of alcohol, you don't notice them near as much, they actually stay in. So flash détente though, here, so this distillate comes out, flashes off, there's pyrazines in it, and it goes into a water stream, because this is juice at this point. And I can tell you, this was sold to me, it's like, wow, it's got a lot of pyrazines. All that pyrazines in my grapes have come out because it's in this water stream. Yeah, actually, if you put a little acid in all those pyrazines, you don't notice much at all. So it does pop out. But the idea is okay, so we've got these, we can take these sensory compounds and put it into the distillate, and we can collect them, not unlike pyrazines. That's the idea with smoke taint. I said, but yeah, that's for the freeze. But what about the bound phenols? So this doesn't do anything. Well, punchlines come in later, but the bound phenols are actually not in the vapor phase. So, but what about them? You've now blown them all apart. Are you going to, you extracted everything. Are you going to have more bound phenols in the fruit? Whereas if you had done some standard technique. And so this was a commercial trial. This wasn't published. It wasn't peer reviewed in a scientific journal. I did find this in Wine Business Monthly in the 2021, but it was presented at Unified, I think in 18. So this was a trial, commercial trial. They found that the free guaiacol, and that time they were just measuring free guaiacol. We didn't have all these other compounds, and we probably had them, but they weren't measured. It's just free guaiacol. It did decrease the free. So again, you've got that free pool. It did actually come out through the distillate and then can get condensed. The question again was, is the total guaiacol? So now the big pool, is it going to increase? In fact, it actually decreased, and that was good, because I think the flash détente folks were worried that it was going to constantly, you were going to get more just because you blew apart everything. So again, moderate success, because you only handled the free really. You still got this giant bound pool later on. So again, it's a tool, but not the solution entirely. Okay, now we're going to move on to wine strategies. So what are the strategies? Just like juice, what are the strategies? Activated carbon is incredibly good. It does really well at taking things out, and it takes everything out, or not everything, but it's going to take out more than what you want it to. It'll take out smoke taint, but you're going to get your color, you're going to get your aromas, you're going to get a bunch of other things. All right, so you're going to strip your wine. Casing, milk casing, that was actually, there's some studies there and did a good job as well. Yeast holes, PVPP, again, what other fining agents can we throw at it? But so those are the ones that they talk about that actually do some reduction, but not remove, except for activated carbon. But again, you really want to do that. And then oak, again, oak keeps coming up. We can mask it if it's low enough in concentration. The smoke taint is low enough in concentration. But again, moderate results because these are indiscriminate sorbents. Excuse me, I'm just talking about the additives. Those are indiscriminate sorbents, so you're going to take out more than you probably want. You may strip this grape wine that you have, but what are you going to do? I mean, you got a smoky wine that you can't market the way it is. Maybe you want to try some of these in hopes you drop it out and still retain some value in the leftover compounds, the aroma compounds that are left, and even some of the tannins and mouthfeel as well. Okay, so now we get into some fun stuff, and this is some work with Dr. Tom Collins here at Washington State. So what are we doing here? So in 2008, this actually, the reverse osmosis technology was there, and we actually did some of this work. So first off, reverse osmosis and nanofiltration. I'm going to go into both of these a little in depth. The other is, can we release the bound fractions either enzymatically, and we'll talk about that with beta glycosylase, potentially can be immobilized, put in a bed, and then also yeast selection. And this is Megan's work, and it's that poster over there. Yeast will actually go along and have beta glycosylase activity. Can we select different yeasts to help break up the bound pool? So then we just got to deal with the free. So not dealing with both enemies at the same time. So that was a study that she did, and then follow. And by the way, do you want to reverse that order? I don't know. Can you reverse that order? Can you get rid of the bound first? Maybe. Or do you really want to do reverse osmosis? We'll see. Tom actually has done reverse osmosis or ultrafiltration first. Then you do a smaller pool and do the release the cleave the bound and release the free and then treat the free. And then finally, the one, again, a really good way to treat the free is activated carbon. So this was some work, again, done here. Reverse osmosis, just to let you know, that's 200 Daltons. That's really only your free pool. You put a glucose on there and you're over. So this is really treating that free pool. So what happens, your wine goes into the RO unit, and you saw that little, I can't remember whose slide, but there was a slide where they had the little RO unit. Divine is one of the people that makes it, which is VA Filtrations down in California. It's just a little unit that they use here. You would put that through the membrane, the RO membrane. The free compounds will go through to permeate. Don't get me wrong, they'll also recirculate, but they'll go out and permeate. And then you do your treatment method. So that your treatment method is going to be in this case, this work was activated carbon, and then you can take that back in. Now it will get some of your other flavor compounds or aroma compounds that actually go through. Aroma compounds, not flavor, that will go through. And well, there you go. So you can see the free pool. The idea is it goes out through the permeate, so it goes through the filter and out, treated by activated carbon, and eventually come back through. And then you go through the recirculation loop there. You're just recirculating until you get more and more of that permeate through to reduce that, to send out that free pool to then be treated. Now, nanofiltration. Why would we do this? Nanofiltration is now at 1,000 Daltons. So now you're going to get your glycosylate. Now I'm saying it wrong. Your single glucose molecule bound phenols, glycosylated. There we go. Thank you. Monoglycosylated phenols, they will go through, right? So not your dyes at this point, but your monoglycosylated will go through. And there's talk. We've talked today. Which one's the most, what's more important? Is the monoglycosylated, diglycosylated, and then boy, I can't wait to do the tries. If those will stay in the wine, just make them all that. But so in this case, with this work, and this was work by Charity, who was just here, the monoglycosylated, glycosylated, sorry, long day, Mike. Monoglycosylated phenols will go through and then be enzymatically treated. So now you have your beta glycosylates glycosides, will go along and cleave that glucose off. Then it makes it free. Then you have your free pool, send it through your carbon treatment, and again, can be then added back to your wine post the treatment. And yeah, and it doesn't have to be carbon. We'll talk about that in a minute. It doesn't have to be carbon. There may be some other selective treatments, but this was the work that Charity started. There you go again. Free and monoglycosylated are going through and then being treated, and then all other wine constituents are just being recirculated. And there's your immobilized enzyme. This was actually, I know the pictures are small, but boy, that's pretty amazing. She's not here. No, I don't see her. But Madison, a new student at Washington, or well, now she's been through a year here at Washington State. She's continuing the work of Charity, taking these enzymes and leaking them into these beads. So you're not just dumping enzymes into this treatment. You're actually putting them in beads like a bed, and they're treated, and then they cleave, they're bound. I think it's really, really pretty amazing. So it's a nice way to keep these. And then she can regenerate those enzymes too. These aren't just one and done. You know, we talked about the additives that we throw in there. What do? We throw them in there and we have to rack them off, and they go, well, most of the time they go down the drain. This is regenerative. So I think this is really fun stuff. I think this is good work. So I don't want to, in full, I'm trying to present the whole picture to you, but this is actually some work from Australia, and what they're doing here now is ultrafiltration. Ultrafiltration now goes into the 5,000 Daltons up to 20,000 Daltons. And I know this is an eye chart, and I don't expect you to look at it in depth, but what they're trying to do now is let the diglycosylated phenols go through, and then they treat them subsequently with a nano. So they're now making that pool even smaller, so they can just treat those diglycosylated phenols. So again, more work is being done, not just here at Washington State, but across the world. And of course, I know Davis is doing some work in remediation, and so is Oregon State as well. Okay, but still, I only put it at the moment as moderate success. Because again, if you're doing activated carbon, you're probably even in the permeate, you're probably still taking out more than you want. But I think this is going in the right direction. This is more positive than I think dumping additive. This is new. This is probably the newest work. All that stuff that I told you before, we were doing a lot of that in 2008, not the ultrafiltration, but we had done a lot of that work earlier. Molecular imprinted polymers, and I hope you've seen this, I hope you've heard about this. But what this is they dump in the smoke tank compounds in a pool of polymers, well, what it will be polymers, and then they react it, and the polymer actually forms around the molecule. So it's literally imprinted into this polymer what these phenols look like. And then what do? They then take, in this case, they take high concentrations of ethanol and these the template molecule, which is your smoke compounds. Your template molecule pops out. So you wash those out, then you treat wine. Wine goes through here, and then these polymers bind on. To me, this reminds me of affinity columns. This is kind of the, if you're in biochemistry, this would be your antigen and your antibody response. Or it's like spot going sideways, but it's this kind of affinity. It's got an affinity to the structure of the smoke taint molecules, and this is some of the newest work. This is regenerative. Oh, let me see if I have it. Oh, I'll tell you in a minute. This is regenerative, but again, you're using high concentrations of ethanol to go along and regenerate this column. So so let me tell you what the study did. This was published in Ag Food Chem, Journal of Agri-Food Chem. So this was done post-inoculation. There's more work in this space that needs to be done, and I think Tori is doing work at Davis right now. So expect some work from Erin and her team. But post-inoculation study in Pinot Noir, they just threw these molecular polymers, as I know, into the wine, the fermentation. Now we would put those in a column, and so then we make the wine. Wine would go through it. But in this study, they removed 35 to 57% of the guaiacol, or guaiacol 4-methylguaiacol crystals, as well as they got 10% removal of the glycoconjugate conjugates, that's really the first time I've ever had anybody report anything on glycoconjugates, as far as I know in literature. So this is a step forward to going after the bound. Like I said at the beginning, what are we going after? We'd like to get both. This is a first step. And it's a step towards specificity as well. But again, it's moderate in its success because it also impacts other aroma and color molecules. Look, if you look at the structures, the smoke-tainted compounds, there's a lot of ring structures in wine, as well as, then you've got oak compounds that look very much like this. Guess what? 4EP, Brettanomyces, spoilage compounds, this column will work on that. So it does have specificity. It's starting towards specificity, still not there though. So that's why I've labeled it. You can label it differently, but I label it as a moderate success because it does impact other aromas and color. And they say that. They're open about this. But it can be regenerated. Again, this is an opportunity where we're not just throwing finding agents in there and things are just precipitating out one and done and down into your wastewater ponds, which is a whole different story that I could talk about that you then have to digest. Whereas something regenerative, I think is positive. So we're going in the right direction. Last thing. I was thinking of what else. Traditional treatments and options. And I think today you've heard them. Well, you didn't hear them all. The first one, we kind of talked about it, but blending. I mean, that was the one we did in 2008. I think it's still tried and true. You just blend it. And actually, that's right, Julie, they showed you the blending trial. They do it at 5, 10, 20, 40. And you saw that when you got up to about, I don't know if it was consensus, but about 20% started having an impact. It was on, you can blend down and then maybe go along and use that wine commercially. Just keeps coming up. And then finally, marketing. Elizabeth alluded to it, but it's actually a study that she was a part of. Will the consumer be open to this? And they did that study. So there's an opportunity. It may take some fun marketing on your part. I think in this article, it was really cool. I think there was a hypothetical one. I'm not sure, but something called smokestack. I don't know. I don't know. I might try it. That's kind of a cool name. I mean, but there you go. They serve it in Texas?
No, I said you have to serve.
Oh, okay. Anyhow, there may be some opportunity. So there you go. So then future work. Now, when I say future work, I think we've heard some of the strategies here. I'm just going to repeat the strategies. If you want to know the future work, talk to Aaron, talk to Tom, talk to Elizabeth. They are working on mitigation strategies. I mean, that is why we're here at the smoke exposure task force. Number five was remediation or mediation. So, can we release the free from the bound pool? Again, which one are we going to target? We can just target one, and the free would be the way to go. Can we go along and release that from the bound pool? So the thing, I think it's important to understand our precursors. We've heard a little bit today that it's the diglycosidic, but glycosidic compounds. But what about the monoglycosidic compounds? We haven't studied those much. I think there's some opportunity there. And then again, if the try, we can make them all go to try. Maybe we're pushing them the wrong way. Maybe we want to all push them in the try so they don't actually affect sensory and they just stay in the wine and we don't have to worry about them. Don't know, but what's the opportunity? Leverage chemical structure. MIPS is one of those opportunities, as well as affinity. I just wrote affinity columns. Is MIPS the only affinity column? Leverage the chemical reactivity. Again, think about monoglycosides versus diglycosides. We have chemical reactivity differences. And then I know this is a wine remitigation. I'm not trying to force it back on the vineyard. Really not. This is a problem for all of us in the winery and in the vineyard. But I do see promise, and Megan sees promise on physical barriers and barrier sprays. Really think there's some opportunity there. But again, this is a holistic problem across our industry, not just in the winery, not just in the vineyard. And with that, just some references. There's some good reviews in here, and there's some good papers in here. And any questions?